From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight: Israeli assaults in Gaza have killed 86 Palestinians and wounded 113 others within the last 24 hours, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. As well as many as 18 people have died there due to malnutrition. The World Food Programme says Israel's military denied the entry of a food aid convoy into northern Gaza. Israeli forces prevented the UN agency's first attempt to deliver aid to the starving region since February 20th. Al Jazeera reports that Israeli soldiers fired at Palestinians near the Wadi Gaza checkpoint in the center of Gaza, killing 7 people and injuring 10. Residential areas including Deir al-Balah and Bani Suhaila were targeted, as well as Al-Shoka school in Rafah. Aerial footage reveals extensive devastation in the densely populated Shati refugee camp, home to more than 90,000 people. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry has condemned Israeli actions as genocidal, accusing Israel of attempting to depopulate northern Gaza. The Israeli military claims to have killed more than 20 Hamas fighters, primarily in Khan Yunis. Additionally, an Israeli bombing in Lebanon led to the deaths of a Hezbollah fighter, his wife, and their son. Since October 7th, Israeli attacks in Gaza have killed 30,717 Palestinians and injured 72,156. Israel has reported 1,139 Israeli deaths from Hamas attacks on the same date. The State Department has said it has made clear to Israel that deaths of children in Gaza are unacceptable. UN experts have confirmed that 15 children have died because of starvation at northern Gaza's Kamal Adwan hospital. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller has said conditions in Gaza are clearly horrific, while adding that Hamas is responsible for starting this war and hiding behind human shields. Miller also says Israel needs to do more to ensure food gets in to address the dire humanitarian needs of the Palestinian people. Israel is accused of genocide by the International Court of Justice, or ICJ. An interim ruling in January ordered Tel Aviv to stop genocidal acts and take measures to guarantee humanitarian assistance is provided to civilians in Gaza. On Tuesday, UN experts said Israel is flouting its responsibilities under the ICJ order. A new coalition has launched an emergency campaign urging U.S. lawmakers to support an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Gaza. The effort is being led by organizations like Demand Progress and Oxfam America. Seth Binder from the Middle East Democracy Center stressed the urgent need for U.S. action to halt Israel's indiscriminate bombardment of Gaza and end the ongoing humanitarian crisis there. The coalition unveiled ceasefireaction.com, offering a database tracking Congress members' stance on the issue and tools for contacting them. According to the database, 164 of the 536 members of Congress support some form of cessation of hostilities in Gaza. South Africa's Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor has issued a stark warning about the potential tragedy in Gaza if ceasefire talks fail. Pandor told public broadcaster SABC that she has asked the ambassador at the UN to make every effort to talk to other ambassadors for an urgent ceasefire resolution. She stressed the need for immediate focus on negotiations to prevent further catastrophe. Pandor expressed deep concern for the people of Palestine, urging global powers like the US and the UK to intervene to ensure humanitarian aid reaches Gaza safely. South Africa has condemned Israel's war on Gaza, accusing it of genocide. It brought the matter before the International Court of Justice in December. In January, the World Court ordered Israel to cease genocidal acts and ensure humanitarian aid reaches Gaza civilians. The White House says the U.S. is working to open up a maritime corridor to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters this week the corridor will be part of a sustained effort with international partners to scale up the amount of life-saving aid getting into Gaza. He says the U.S. will continue to urge Israel to facilitate the entry of more trucks and the creation of more routes, opening up additional crossings to allow aid. Kirby stressed the best and most efficient way to get aid to people in a confined space like Gaza is by ground. He said Cyprus could be used as part of the maritime corridor. 53% of young Americans say military aid to Israel is too much. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. 53% of young Americans say military aid to Israel is too much, and 71% of young Muslims rate military aid to Israel as excessive. A recent survey by the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding shows significant backing from American religious groups for a ceasefire in Gaza. The study, aimed at assessing views of various religious affiliations and non-religious groups, emphasizes the impact of U.S. aid to Israel on the 2024 general election. Notably, Muslims strongly favor candidates supporting a permanent ceasefire. The Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on a Greek-based commercial spyware company, Intellexa, led by former Israeli military officer Tal Jonathan Dillian. Dillian and his partner, Sarah Alexandra Faisal Hamou, were targeted along with 5 associated entities. They were found developing and distributing spyware technology used against Americans, including government officials and journalists. The spyware, known as Predator, enables infiltration of electronic devices through zero-click attacks, posing a significant security risk. Undersecretary Brian Nelson emphasized the importance of deterring misuse of surveillance tools. The State Department also sanctioned 2 individuals and 5 entities involved in the misuse of spyware technology. Members of Israeli Kibbutz Be'eri have refuted claims made in a December New York Times article that Hamas fighters committed sexual abuses during their attack on October 7th. The Times report, titled "Screams Without Words," had claimed teenage sisters living in the kibbutz were sexually assaulted during the attack. But kibbutz spokesperson Michal Paikin emphasized that while the sisters were injured, they were not subject to sexual abuse. She challenged the credibility of the Times sources, including an Israeli paramedic. One of the victims in the Times article is identified as Gal Abdush, known in the story as the woman in the black dress. Her family has also called into question the Times claims. The UN Special Envoy for Sexual Violence has called for investigations into the allegations. President Joe Biden secured victories across most Democratic primary states on Super Tuesday, yet a notable dissent has emerged in Minnesota. As many as 19% of Democrats chose uncommitted in the state. This protest vote signifies disapproval of Biden's support for Israel's war on Palestine. Similar sentiments echoed across Super Tuesday states like Alabama, Colorado, Iowa, Massachusetts, North Carolina, and Tennessee, ranging from 3.9% to 12.7%. The movement drew support from diverse demographics, including students, suburban women, and liberal Jewish activists. It shows a broad coalition forming against Biden's uncompromising support of Israel. Last week in Michigan, more than 101,000 people, 13% of voters, voted uncommitted in the Democratic primary. Despite Vice President Kamala Harris's call for a ceasefire and aid to Gaza, dissatisfaction persists. The discontent extends beyond Muslim Americans to progressives and younger voters, indicating potential challenges for Biden's re-election bid. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, candidate Nikki Haley quit the race, challenging Trump to win back Republicans who opposed him. A recent survey conducted by veteran Democratic pollster Jeff Guerin highlights a concerning trend. Many voters in key swing states like Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are unaware of former President Donald Trump's authoritarian statements. They include his intention to become a dictator, labeling immigrants as poison, and threatening political opponents. The poll, conducted for the group Save My Country, which excluded Trump voters from 2020, found only 31% of respondents were familiar with Trump's statements. However, upon learning about these remarks, voters viewed him more negatively, perceiving him as dangerous and dictatorial. With President Joe Biden trailing Trump in recent polls, educating voters about the threat posed by Trump's rhetoric could shape the November election. A federal appellate panel has upheld blocking a crucial provision in a controversial Florida law promoting exclusion and opposing diversity. The law, titled Stop Wrongs Against Our Kids and Employees, or WOKE Act, was approved by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in April 2022. It sought to outlaw diversity, equity, and inclusion training in workplaces. A 3-judge panel of the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the blockage, ruling that it violated First Amendment rights. The decision, echoing a previous ruling by U.S. District Judge Mark Walker, marks a victory for free speech advocates. Critics argue the law stifles discussions on race and perpetuates a culture of white discomfort. A leading figure of the anti-Muslim group Act for America recently used a QAnon platform to solicit support and signatures for the organization's agenda. Appearing on the X22 report, which is affiliated with the QAnon conspiracy theory, Brigitte Gabriel urged viewers to join Act for America. She cited concerns over Muslim immigration and Palestinian refugees in the U.S., going so far as to promote signing a petition against Palestinian refugees. She also emphasized the need for financial backing and activism, encouraging even keyboard activists to engage. Analysts say her tactics highlight a concerning trend of extremists leveraging QAnon spaces for recruitment and fundraising. It parallels other fringe groups like election denialists and anti-vaxxers. Federal prosecutors have filed a hate crime indictment against a Florida man accused of repeatedly threatening to kill members of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Charges against 72-year-old Michael Shapiro of West Palm Beach include 3 counts of transmitting threats. Each count carries a potential sentence of up to 10 years in prison. Shapiro's threats were made via voicemail, expressing violent intent toward Muslims. He has a history of making threatening calls and has previously faced federal charges. U.S. Attorney Don Eisen emphasized the seriousness of such threats, saying those who instill fear in communities will be vigorously prosecuted. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.